think everyone here at the table is a big proponent of the nuclear family. And let me be extremely clear about that. Me and you have talked about it extensively with the nuclear family. Everyone here at the table, I've had a conversation with you guys about the nuclear family and how it is the backbone of a thriving civilization. But let's understand that we're in 2024 and the landscape has changed. So I'm telling them, look, that is ideal, but we got to operate on what's real. Women are no longer the same, and just because you found your wife and you were able to get on your program, and she was fears God and everything else, a lot of these hoes don't. That's not how the world works anymore. So we had this debate, and people kind of saw like, okay, that's ideal, but the reality is most people aren't religious anymore. Most people live secular lives. Most people live godless lives, and you got to kind of adapt to the new normal and understand how to at least identify these women so that you don't take them seriously. Their thing is, be religious, and that's going to kind of save you. And my thing is, I think what that'll do is you kind of pull the wool over your eyes when you do that, because what ends up happening is you're going to look at the girl from an idealistic perspective versus a realistic perspective. Like, oh, she's a stripper, but she found God now, or something like that. And it's like, I look at it like women always reserve the right to go back to feminism whenever it suits them. And they will. They will go ahead and use the divorce court against you if they want. I hate to use this example, but like, look at Steven Crowder. Married a traditional conservative Christian woman, God-fearing. And what did she do?
Tries to ruin his career.
She's trying to destroy him right now. And she edited clips to make him look like a monster when it wasn't the truth at all. You know what makes it even more heinous? She sent it to the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like she had the...
On purpose, by the way.
She had the intent to destroy this man. Like, you're going to go after him and send it to his... pretty much his ops, right? Sorry, I can't think of a better term right now. I'm asleep. But like, you send it to his ops. You know that they're going through a feud right now, the whole contract situation. Yeah. You're going to send it to them, and then they all pretty much like, they're dropping hit pieces on him and shit. It's like, come on, man. You're supposed to be his wife, his confidant. At least keep that behind. Like, have your divorce court on the side. Don't destroy the man's reputation and his ability to earn money for the children. And let me say this too, because we've been hypercritical of the Christian faith. Let me also, as someone that grew up in a Muslim household, let me also be honest and let you guys know that I hate to say it, Islam doesn't prepare you for the modern dating marketplace either. Unfortunately, right? They advocate women be a virgin on her, wedding day, etc. And the reality is that's just not going to happen. Like, you're going to have to go to a pretty strict Sharia law country to be able to find that.
And she still has to be in the fourth grade.
Yeah. And if you interpret it literally, it could be problematic. My thing is, right, like, and this applies to Judaism as well, right? Like, so, like, let's go with Daily Wire, right? Because they're also super hard on, pushing the trad con marriage, etc., which, again, everyone at this table believes in the nuclear family. But we don't agree with pursuing the nuclear family in a volatile environment that's set up for you to fail unless you go in with your eyes wide open. I'm not telling you to not pursue the nuclear family. I'm telling you to know that it could be nuclear if it fails. So my thing is also this. Religion is not going to give you the safety that it once did before. I always say that religion is kind of like training wheels, right? Those training wheels are gone. You better be able to ride that fucking bike from the beginning, because the training wheels are no longer there to keep women in line, shame, guilt. All this stuff isn't there anymore. Women are incentivized to be whores thanks to the music, thanks to society. OnlyFans now gives them a financial reason to be whores. We got girls now where we know they're going on podcasts saying, yeah, I sucked this guy's dick, and then I got the jizz in my mouth, then I went back to my other guy, blah, blah. Girls are saying this now to get clicks. Right. So they're advertising themselves as whores. So there's never been a time where women are more comfortable to be promiscuous. So what does that mean? It means that religion is no longer a tool set to defend you from the fuckery. And, Ben Shapiro always says, well, I'm a married man and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what, bro? Now everybody's a Harvard graduate that came from a, Orthodox Jewish family that had the Orthodox Jewish woman set up for him with a setup. Like, it's not going to happen for a lot of guys.
You probably won't leave him because he's rich.
Yeah. If you know anything about his story, if you know how he met.
I don't want to have to, say something about a religion I grew up following and my family follow strictly, but I gotta be honest, like, Islam does not set you up to deal with Western modern women.
We can all agree. I'm watching Marquette over here. I'm like, I know.
Say something that I noticed.
Yeah, he's gonna say. Please,
because I'm gonna bounce off of yours right now because I know what you're gonna say.
There's no such thing as a religious woman. When you're dealing with religion, you're dealing with values and principles that you have to stick to.
Yes.
You've heard the phrase "a man of his word." You've never heard a woman of her word. Oh my God! Right? Okay. And I know you know the word. While we're speaking of the Bible, they said in the beginning there was the
Word.
Yeah. So there are no women of the word. There are no women who believe in religion. The real failing is of the men who actually don't take on the religion seriously and enforce it. The other thing we have to consider is this. It's actually, keeping with that, it was not the religion and the ideas that kept the woman in line. It was the community.
Yeah.
The community which provides for stigmatization,
Yes.
shame.
Consequences.
Exactly. Her feeling bad about her behaviors. Yeah. So unless we have that religious community with men enforcing the ideas and providing consequences.
And other women, too. Instead of enabling in the comments like, you go, girl. No, they should be saying, you fucking slut.
Right. And they're saying that because the man programmed them.
Yes.
The woman finds her religion through the man.
Agreed. Yeah.
You could
That's the
almost
only
say
way.
that a real man is the God to the woman.
The thing is that the new normal has changed. So, like, and I'm critical of all the religions for this. None of the religions of the book, unfortunately, prepare you for the modern woman. I hate to say it, man.
You have one guy who says he's a Christian, another guy who says he's a Christian, and then they utilize this to explain their thinking and behaviors, yet they behave radically differently. The guy who remains a virgin and says it's because of his Christianity, 9 out of 9, that's not the case. It's because of his nature and his upbringing and the information he was provided.
His weirdness.
Precisely. It's not actually because of religion, because the truth of all the religions is most people don't believe. These guys do not believe. They're using religion as an explanation for how they are living or what their deficiencies are. And with regards to Steven Crowder, it's an issue of selection. There's two major issues. Number one, the hero in the society, especially for those of us who are upright and traditional and we follow the rules and we go to college, it's, oh, you got married and you stayed married and you maintained those vows, which is to say you stayed in there like a sucker in a 9-to-5 job, waiting to get your retirement pension. That's extraordinarily dumb. And that's what weaklings do. They get into bad situations and they're not strong enough to say, hey, this is not for me. But we've told that story consistently and guys follow it because they don't know what the alternative is.
Well,
I'd like to assert that the man who is succumbing to marriage is probably one of the weakest men in the society. I'd actually turn up things a degree higher and state that men who are truly traditional, today, you actually have to do things that historically would not be viewed as traditional. Whereas previously, you get into the marriage contract, this woman is now essentially your property. She's subject to you and to your domination. Now, when the marriage occurs, you're subject to the government's domination. So it is the weak male who submits to marriage, for marriage is beneficial to the female. Why? Because it locks you into a long-term contract, like Scottie Pippen, right? You get in that long-term bad contract, and what happens is that over time, the female's declining rapidly in value. Menopause, things like this, right?
Biological fact.
Right?
Yeah.
And here's the worst part about it. Are you getting the things you really wanted when you were going into the marriage? All of the things every male actually wanted? Sexual variety, peace of mind, sex on demand.
No.
She's getting all of the things she sought. Commitment, financial support, even if you're not in the relationship after the marriage. So the marriage is a horrible deal for men. In fact, I would suggest that today it only makes sense when you're about to procreate, and I still wouldn't do it legally. And the only reason I'm doing it when I'm about to procreate is so that we're not mixing paternal blood, because that's a filthy thing.
Wow. Well, when you look at from a macro standpoint, like you said before, the concept of consequences, those consequences aren't there. And anytime you have like a liberal democratic society and technology advances, you're going to get further and further away from a survival scenario. Right. And as you get further and further away from a survival scenario,
belief.
Then all of a sudden you have the luxury of not having the same beliefs. The result of there being no consequence of Brittany Renner saying, "I fucked 3 guys today and I have a yeast infection," and she goes viral on TikTok for saying that. For her doing that, we had a girl on here one time. Do you remember? She's like, "Yeah, I'm seeing this guy's pretty serious." And then later on, by the end of the show, admit she just gave a guy a blowjob right before the show. I was like, "It's the guy you're dating." She's like, "No, it's a different guy." And I'm like, "She's probably 60,000 people are watching us."
And that makes sense in her head, though.
For sure.
That's the part that kills me, is that in her head,
for sure,
that's still okay.
Yeah.
There's a redhead that just kind of like, I don't want to go into too many details, but long story short, it's 3 a.m. I'm in my storefront, right? woman knocks on the door. I open the door. She's claiming she wants to go upstairs, right? So I was like, okay, I'll let you in the building. So I leave out of my storefront. I go let her upstairs, and then she still needs me to scan her into the elevator. So we get in the elevator. She has a drink. She's supposed to go meet her friend. She's texting, and then she says, oh, they're saying like the party's over, so I guess I'm too late. Okay, cool. So then we go back out. You guys know it's been a bit cold, right? So she's supposedly waiting for someone to come pick her up, her boyfriend. So then she says, hey, it's a bit cold. Do you mind if I sit inside with you while I wait for him? I'm not going to tell you guys how that story ended, but what I can tell you is that during the proceedings that occurred, I could see her texting him, "Oh, baby, I love you, and like, I'm sorry we had this fight, and I shouldn't have went out without you." And you know what? I truly believe she meant every word of it.
And she did.
Despite everything she did that night, she meant every word.
And all the times you guys have had over 2,000 women on your show.
Yeah.
Have you heard I have never heard a single woman say, I cheated on this guy and I regret it. Not one time. Maybe once, and I can't remember, but I never hear a woman say, I broke up and I regret it. Because the thing is, regretting it would have to come with some consequences. I'm a man of my word. If I don't keep my word, if I keep showing up late, if I do business deals with you guys and I screw you over, not only will you not work with me, other people will not work with me as well. My value as a human, my ability to be useful to other humans comes through my word. If I have big fake boobies, then I don't have to do that. And when I don't show up on time, like, it's just incredible to me, like the leeway. And by the way, I'm not blaming women for this. Can you imagine how any of us would act if we had women offering us sex hundreds of times a day? Not only women offering us sex,
right there.
They're offering us money just to show our bodies. Yeah, sure. Could you imagine how you'd be intolerable? I'm not even blaming women for this.
You can't blame women
You'd be intolerable. You wouldn't even know. There's no way evolutionarily for your brain to comprehend that. So when women were getting all this attention, they still have the same evolutionary psychology hardwire that they had 200,000 years ago. It's just not, that firmware is not programmed for this stimulus, for this input. And so when they do it, they just become intolerable. There's one thing I found was fascinating. So Marilyn Monroe had a mental disorder. It was clearly diagnosed. But Marilyn Monroe's mother had the same mental disorder, and her grandmother had the same mental disorder. And the reason why, you ask yourself, what's the deal there? Well, they were attractive enough to where these men looked past that. So there's no selection pressure for a woman. So consider a woman being autistic and a man being autistic. A woman being autistic, if she's still really attractive, will have children, and she will have men pursue her. So there's no selection pressure against her passing on her genetics. A man with the same issue, autism, his ability to procure resources and to be charismatic around a woman is greatly lessened, and therefore his ability to spread his genetics is much less. So what we're seeing, we used to have selection pressure for bigger, stronger men. They would have more children because they would be able to be more productive, and they would have bigger, stronger children. And since 98% of the U.S. population was agricultural back in the 18th century, there was big, strong men who had more kids. So testosterone levels were higher. We've done measurements where testosterone levels have dropped since the 1950s. So now what we see is as these men who are more technologically savvy and do jobs that don't require a lot of testosterone, the selection pressure is not there's no selection pressure against them. So now we have more babies that have lower testosterone. That's one of the reasons why men in general have lower testosterone. But we still have to keep our word. We still have to be productive. We still have to be useful. We still have to be honest. There's still things we have to do as men in order for us to be productive so that we can procreate. For the most part, obviously there's some deadbeat dudes out there. For women, on the other hand, in their situation, they don't. What happens is whatever they come with, whether it be schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder or whatever, my point is, in every population, those things are generally not desired and they're selected against. But if you're hot enough, they aren't. That's my point.
Most women don't need you anymore. They're more educated now than ever before, and they've ever been, and they make more money than they ever made. Then on top of that, religion, right? Most girls aren't religious anymore. A lot of you chicks are fucking hoes. And then on top of that, they don't want normal guys, because if they don't need you to provide for them, well, what's left?
The guy they want.
Bam.
Right. Not the guy they need.
They'd rather be a side chick for the guy they like than date some guy they don't.
Dating in itself is adversarial, right? Right. And we've talked about this Rolo ad nauseum,
Mating
right?
strategies.
Like the man is trying to get sex and the woman is trying to get attention and resources. Both parties are fighting to keep their resource and get the others without giving up theirs. So if you're giving advice to one party, it automatically puts the other party at a disadvantage.
Yep.
So if you're giving proper fucking advice, the other party should be enraged that you're giving the other one information that puts them at a significant disadvantage. Well, and I've always said this too. When women warn each other about men, it's called advice. When men warn men about women, they call it misogyny. Because the truth is, women don't want you to know the truth because that's their only fucking power.
100%.
When you know the truth and you can't be finessed and you can't be manipulated, guess what? She ain't got no hands either. She can't do shit to you. So they don't want you to know. But this is why I always say, women dating coaches, right, or women that give advice in this situation, they give you half-truths. A lot of things that Sadia says is actually correct. I'm not going to shit on her. But a lot of things she says is very incorrect, and I'm not going to blame her because she's a woman.
How would she know?
She does not know.